students, how are you all? This is me Anam and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to discuss about continued ratio. I've already uploaded some lectures on ratio and proportion and direct inverse proportion. You may check those videos later. So today we're going to talk about continued ratio. So let me give you a brief revision about what ratio is. So the definition of ratio goes like a ratio is a numerical relationship between two quantities having the same unit, and it is represented by this column, and this column is spaced between the two quantities that are being considered for a ratio. Let's suppose there's a jar and one has put 3 cups of water and 1 cup of milk in it. Okay, so how are we going to tell that how much cups of water and milk are added in it? What is the ratio between them? What is the quantity between them? It's basically called, because both of the units are same, which are in cups, so it can be written as 3:1. For every 3 cups of water, we're going to add 1 cup of milk. That is the ratio 3:1. Okay. Whenever we add 3 cups of water in a jar, we're going to add 1 cup of milk to it. So this is how a ratio goes. It can be like for every one part of flour, or you may say for every 1 cup of flour, we're going to add 1 cup of whole wheat flour. All right, 1 cup of plain flour, we're going to add 1 cup of whole wheat flour. So it's going to go like 1:1, 1 cup for each 1 cup, right? So this is how the ratio goes. Now, talking about continued ratio, let's suppose if you have two ratios given for three quantities, right? Like two ratios like A ratio B and B ratio C are given for three quantities, and you can see that B and the in both the cases, in both the ratios given, B is common. Like they are the ratio is given with the respect of one similar quantity. So this is known as continued ratio. And how you're going to write it? It will be like A ratio B ratio C. And how we came to A ratio B ratio C, I'm going to explain it to you right now. It is written as A ratio B, and the common ratio is written in the center. Like we have A ratio B and B ratio C, so it's going to be written as B ratio C, and the result will be A will come down as it is. The shared ratio will be written once, and then we're going to write the third ratio. So it's going to be A ratio B ratio C. So this is a continued ratio for three quantities, provided that one element is common between them. Like in this case, we have B common over here. Okay. So this expresses the relationship between three quantities A, B, and C. Okay. So we always write the common quantities in the center. Okay. So I'm going to share an example with you. So this will help you understand the topic much better. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to write it over here. So we have been given two ratios of three quantities A, B, and C, and it goes like A ratio B is equal to 1:2, and B ratio C is equal to 2:3. And we have to find their continued ratio. So how are we going to write it? It will go like A ratio B, B ratio C. A ratio B ratio C. This is the thing. Now it will be written as 1:2, 2:3. 1 will come down as it is, 2 and 3. This is how we're going to write it as 1:2:3. This is the continued ratio that we are talking about. Okay, now let's have a look at another example to understand the concept of continued ratio better. Right? So the question is given, if A ratio B is equal to 3:5 and B ratio C is equal to 5 ratio 6, find A ratio B ratio C. Now A ratio B ratio C refers to a continued ratio. In this case, as you can see, one quantity is similar in both these ratios, and these ratios are respect to this quantity. All right, the both B is common is in both the ratios, right? And the values are also same. The value of B is also same. Okay, so now how are we supposed to find A ratio B ratio C, or how are we supposed to find the continued ratio? It goes like, we write it A ratio B, B ratio C, A ratio B ratio C. It goes like 3 ratio 5. We're going to write 5 ratio 6. It goes like 3 ratio 5 ratio 6. Right? So if we consider the unit as parts, so for every 3 parts of A, you're going to add 5 parts of B and 6 parts of C, right? Now let's have a look at a case where the corresponding elements of two ratios are not equal. So the B is considered as a corresponding element, okay? Now in this case where these two ratios are not equal, so what are we going to do and how are we supposed to find the continued ratio? This is a very confusing question if you are new to this concept, right? So how are we going to find that? So in this case, we are also going to write it as same. Let's suppose we have A ratio B and C ratio D. So how are we supposed to find the continued ratio? We're going to write A ratio B as it is, and here C ratio D will be written like this. So, okay, we're going to write C under B. So what happens is that there is a sort of multiplying that goes around. All right. So the multiplying goes like this. The second element of the first ratio multiplies with the last element. It goes like this. You can understand by the arrow. B multiplies with D. B also multiplies with C. And A multiplies with C. So this is how it goes. The first element multiplies with the first element of the second ratio. The second element multiplies with the second element of the second ratio, and the corresponding elements like the second and first, which comes in the center, get multiplied together. So we're going to write them as AC ratio BC ratio BD. So this is how a continued ratio goes when the corresponding elements or the center elements are not common. We are given two ratios with unequal values of these two elements, right? So this is how we go. We multiply the first element with the first element of the second ratio. We multiply the second element with the second element of the ratio. And the corresponding ones, the center ones, which are written like this, are multiplied together. AC, BC, BD. AC ratio BC, AC ratio BC ratio BD. Okay, now. So if we are given an example, how we're going to solve it, let's have a look. So let's have an example. If A ratio B is equal to 2 ratio 3 and C ratio D is equal to 4 ratio 5. Find the continued ratio. How are we supposed to do that? Now we have an idea like it goes like this. A ratio B, uh, C ratio D. It goes like AC, BC, BD, right? B, C, and like this, right? So we're going to write the elements as 2 ratio 3, 4 ratio 5. Okay. So first of all, 2 is multiplied to 4. What do we get here? 8 ratio 3. 3 gets multiplied by 4, 12, and 3 also gets multiplied to 5, which is 15. So here you go, 8 ratio 12 ratio 15. This is how you're going to calculate the continued ratio in case these two corresponding elements are not equal. Okay, so this is how we do it. And if somebody asks you that either find the continued ratio, we have already done that. And if somebody asks you to find A ratio C, okay, A ratio C means that whatever you have here, it will be considered as A, B, and C. So in this case, because it's a continued ratio, so in this case, we're going to write it as, if this is considered as A, okay, if is A is sorry, I'm gonna write it with blue. If A is considered as 8, B is considered as 12 from the final answer, and C is considered as 15, then A ratio C will be 8 ratio 15. Okay. Now we have been given this question where it is written, if R ratio S is equal to 1 ratio 4 and S ratio T is equal to 2 ratio 3, find R ratio S ratio T. Okay, now here in this case you can see that the corresponding element, the values for the corresponding element S is not same. So how are we going to calculate it? Just remember the concept that we did. It will go like R S S ratio T, right? The second element multiplies with the second element. The central elements multiply together, and the first element also gets multiplied. So the answer you get is RS ratio S ratio ST. Why I am writing double S this time is because the values of these two S's is not same. So here we're going to write the answer is 1 ratio 4, 2 ratio 3. Alright. So 1 is multiplied by 2. So you will write it as 2 ratio. 4 and 2 gets multiplied together. It comes as 8. And 4 and 3 gets multiplied together. It comes as 12. So what is this? 2, 8 and 12. Okay. So this is your R ratio S ratio T. Okay. 1 gets multiplied by 2. 4 and 2 gets multiplied together, and 4 is multiplied by 3. Right? Okay, now let's have a look at a word problem. In a bakery, the ratio of the sale of bread to eggs is 2 ratio 3 and the sale of eggs to milk is 3 ratio 1. Find the continued ratio of bread, eggs and milk. Okay. Now, we have been given the ratios like bread ratio eggs is 2 ratio 3 and eggs ratio milk is equal to 3 ratio 1. So here you can see that two values are common. Like eggs are same. These are the corresponding elements and these are same. So it means that it's gonna go smoothly like A ratio B ratio C. So they have asked us to find the continued ratio of bread, eggs and milk. This will go as 2 ratio 3, 3 ratio 1. You're going to write them as this, 2 ratio 3 ratio 1. So what is going to be the continued ratio of bread? Ratio eggs, ratio milk. We're going to write it as 2 ratio 3 ratio 1. Sorry. This is your answer. Okay, now guys, have a look at this example. Ahmad and Irfan got a profit in a business in the ratio of 5 ratio 4. And Irfan and Wasim got a profit in the ratio 8 ratio 9. Find the ratio of profit among Ahmad, Irfan and Wasim. Now here you can see that the corresponding values are not same. Like Ahmad ratio Irfan is equal to 5 ratio 4, and the ratio for Irfan and Wasim is equal to 8 ratio 9. Right? So none of these ratios match. Like Irfan has a ratio of 4 here, and here Irfan has a ratio of 8. Okay, so now it's known as now. So this is the case where the corresponding values are unequal. Okay, so how are we going to solve it? The same one like what we did before. So we're going to write it as 5 ratio 4, like Ahmad, Irfan and Wasim, right? So we're going to write Ahmad, Irfan. I'm going to write it Ahmad, Irfan and Wasim, right? 5 ratio 4, and here it's 8 ratio 9, right? So what we do? The first elements are multiplied together. 5 eights are 40. 4 8 are multiplied together. 4 eights are 32. And 4 nines are 36. Okay, so this is the final answer for Ahmad ratio, Irfan ratio, Wasim. But here you can see that we can also write these ratios in a simplified form, since all these three values are divisible by 4. So we can also write it as, for ratio, here I'm going to write it as like 4 tens are, 4 eights are, and 4 nines are. So the simplified ratio for Ahmad, ratio Irfan, ratio Wasim is written as 10 ratio 8 ratio 9. Right? Now, I'm going to share another example with you, which might be very confusing for you if something like this comes in your exam. So how you have to be very vigilant in order to understand the question properly. So let's have a look at an example where the values will look same, but they don't belong to the same person. But uh, at a first glance, you can get confused by it. So let's have a look at that example too. Alright guys, now let's have a look at another example which I told you that is a little bit confusing. Here you can see, in a maths test, Zara, Muna and Komal got marks in the ratio given below. Zara to Muna is 4 ratio 5 and Muna to Komal is 4 ratio 3. Find continued ratio of marks obtained by Zara, Muna and Komal. Now, if you look at the question, immediately you think, oh, it's a simple continued ratio where the corresponding elements are equal. You just have to put like 4 ratio 5 and 4, you have to put 4 together, and then the ratio will go like 3 ratio 4 ratio 5. No, but if you look closely, here you can see Zara to Muna. The ratios are like Zara has 4, Muna has 5. But in the second statement, you see Muna to Komal, it's Muna has 4 now and Komal has 3. Right? So, if here you see that the corresponding elements are unequal. Muna has 5 here and here Muna has 4. So this is the case where you can get confused in an exam, because examiners do they have such kind of confusing questions in examination. So you should be well prepared for such kind of question. So how are we going to solve it? Let's have a look. So I'm gonna write the ratios in a short form, like the names in a short form, like Zara, Muna, and Komal, right? So Zara here has 4 and Muna has 5, and here Muna has 4 and Komal has 3. So again, the first one will be multiplied. So it will goes like 16. 5 and 4 are multiplied together, 20, and 5 and 3 are also multiplied together, 15. Okay. So here you can see that the ratio for Komal is now 16, Mona is 20, and Komal is 15. So we're going to write it as Zara ratio Mona ratio Komal is equal to 16 ratio 20 ratio 15. It cannot be simplified further because these values are, all three are cannot be divided by the same value. In case like in the case of the previous example that we did, so all the values could be easily divided by 4, but here if you can see that 16 and 20 can be divisible by 4 but not the 15 one. So that's why this is this already simplified ratio here. So I hope you understand today's lecture of continued ratio for both the equal corresponding values and non-equal corresponding values. Okay, so I hope you understand the concept of continued ratio very well. So I'll meet you in my another video. So make sure that you have subscribed to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you get notified whenever I upload my next video. So these days I'm uploading videos regularly. So make sure that you don't miss any video. So meet you in my next video. Till then, take care and bye bye.